Welcome in to another edition of the Kevin and Jason Show, Friday special game preview edition. I'm your host today, Kevin Masseri, here with Jason Shannon, going over the big, actually really big Bills versus Titans matchup that, I pretty much think could have wild card implications. I think they potentially will get into this a little bit more here, but I think that they might be the AFC South representative anyways. I think they have a good chance for that. Then that would be Houston and Tennessee, I think, are easily the top two in that division. So we'll be going over the game matchups where we see the injury report, as well as coming out a lot of 7 questionable players. Half the team's questionable, so we're going to talk about which ones we think are going to play. Bills err on the side of caution a lot, especially with the bye week, might even be more so. You might see all those 7 sit, or a majority of them. We'll talk about that here on this edition. As always, presented by Cover One. How you doing today, Jason?
I got my game face on. I got my eye black on. I got my neutrally lucky Josh Allen jersey on.
Okay.
Just warming up. I'm ready for Sunday. And
are you 0-1 or 1-1 in the Josh Allen jersey?
I'm 2-1.
2-1. Okay.
Yeah, we got 2 wins. I wore a different Bill shirt in the opener, and then
well, that Bill shirt's 1-0.
Yeah, it's a little tight on me. I decided to go with the jersey that was, cost hundreds of dollars, of course, and it decided to be neutrally lucky. If we lose to the Titans, though, the Josh Allen jersey might have to go. We're getting into colder weather anyways after the bye, and when we get back to these home games,
you're not going to bring it out for the Dolphins game? What if you're there?
We're gonna be having some cold tailgates. I might have it under 6 hoodies at this point. 50 degrees feels like about 10 right now. I can't believe it gets 50 degrees colder here.
Okay. Yeah, it was cold today. We actually turned the heat on in October for the first time, October 4th. I like to usually keep it off in October. It's a great month, but it's not going to happen. Looks like the heat's going to stay on. It's chilly, though. It's supposed to get a little bit of a heater here. Stay in the 60s and we're good, but dip into the low 50s is tough.
You have a kid now. I can just throw on 6 hoodies and call it a day.
But, unfortunately, I have to heat it up there. Though babies do like it cool, but it was a little too cold today, so had to fire that up. But actually, it's my anniversary here this too, so there's that. So thank you. So usually I remember getting married, it was like 80 out. So
I remember that too.
Yeah, it was hot. Not this week. So I guess that's cool. Though I wouldn't have minded a little bit of a coolness either. So this game, Jason's big. We'll start the injury report. That's a good place to start. The Titans, pretty healthy team. Only missing David Fluellen, who's commonly hurt. They like a lot out of him as their third running back. I heard some stuff about him. He's not going to go. He's out with a knee. Delaney Walker ended up practicing. He's got no designation, just like Vaccaro and their punter Kern. But they have Cameron Wake questionable, didn't practice all week. So apparently he's a lot like Ty Nsekhe, gets a questionable tag there. And then I guess if you want to call it their big injuries, Kevin Pamphile, their starting guard, he's out this week, but they are getting reinforced with their starting left tackle and I guess all pro left tackle, Taylor Lewan. So it's a pretty decent line when he's get plugged in there with Lewan, Roger Saffold, Ben Jones, and then Pamphile, who's out, Jack Conklin. So they have one hole, and that's their right guard spot. Saffold's been pretty much, since converting to guards, been recognized as a pretty good guard. Not a lot there on the injury report. I guess if you're going to tack him anywhere, it's going to be that Ben Jones / backup guard, Jamil Douglas, or I don't know if they're going to go with their rookie Nate Davis there at right guard, or if they'll even, I don't know, move a tackle in. I'm not sure exactly who's going to start there at right guard, but if there's anywhere, once again, you're going to have a little bit of hope there in the interior, but it's a solid line. But that doesn't stop Mariota from getting hit. So Jason, kind of what's your, I guess, initial take on the Titans injury report? They're really healthy.
Yeah, they're very healthy. You'd wish that maybe they were a little banged up because most of the league is, and this is kind of an anomaly. I would say probably the most important one to me right now is Cameron Wake and his status right now.
Sure.
I was reading some Titans, some of their beat reporters, and they seem to think that just because he didn't practice all week isn't necessarily an indication of him not playing. He's, like in his 12th season. He's got to be
limited, right? He's got to be limited if he plays.
Well, the deal with him is he's only been playing 25 snaps anyways,
okay.
And he's been doing it extremely effectively. So there is a chance that if he does make the active roster that he will be used in sort of a similar role, even though maybe his effectiveness will be diminished. But, he's got 2.5 sacks and he's got 4 tackles. He's he's out there to, rush the passer on obvious pass rushing downs, and has been pretty good at it and has graded out pretty well so far this year. People were really surprised at the burst that he's had so far. So, and Josh Allen's had his days or Matt Barkley, I guess we have to say both for now. Both can be flustered by the pressure. And I do think that there is a pretty decent drop off to where they're going as far as, Kamalei Correa, I guess Sheriff Finch. I'm not too familiar with him. Then obviously Harold Landry on the other side. They have a big defensive line and a 3-man front. So even though Cameron Wake gets listed as a starter on most depth charts, you'll see, he's playing more at like a Lorenzo Alexander amount of snaps than what he was doing at a dominant pass rushing days. So I think that's really the big one to look out for. But for a guy that didn't practice all week, that's not necessarily a great sign for them.
Yeah, I would say that that's true. Is an important piece, but I wouldn't say it's a huge piece. But I guess they've started Jamil Douglas, the guards, at number 75 for 4 straight games. So he is their guard. I don't. Does that mean they don't play Pamphile? How did he get hurt? So I'm gonna have to look at that. I think that if you keep Wake out of the game, I still think that diminishes a little bit of their pass rush. He had a really good game. They haven't been great on offense, Jason. I mean, they have, some solid, decent, we'll call it decent weapons. Their O-lines, played pretty well at times. Still going to get a nice boost here this week with Juan. Delaney Walker does his Delaney Walker things. Humphreys has been slow. Tajay Sharp's not good. Corey Davis is, when he decides to play D's, he's good. Derrick Henry's kind of had a resurgence the second half of last year, and Deion Lewis hasn't really been used very much. So their offense still isn't great. Mariota's got his limitations too. They play a lot of Jonnu Smith. So there's definitely some, it's not a world beating offense by any stretch of the imagination, especially going up against a good defense. The Bills actually put, as we all know, they don't necessarily put precedent on number one thing, rushing the passer. So their scheme will allow them to stop the run, and it will allow them to get, it allowed them to get pressures, but not necessarily convert them to sacks. Mariota's going to hold that ball a little bit longer than Brady, but he has been getting the ball out quick as per advanced stats, Jason. So that is, I think, beside Brady last week, I think he was number 1 or 2. I can't remember which way it goes of getting the ball out, which is he's been working on because he usually holds the ball and takes sacks. So
yeah,
the offensive line will help their running game a lot here in Tennessee, but with Marcus Mariota, we'll see. He's been focusing on getting that ball out in 2 seconds.
Yeah, he's getting it out quick, but it's not, when you see a guy like that with a number like that, sometimes it is good. You assume it's a good thing with Tom Brady, but it's a lot of just getting guys on first reads. And I think there's still an opportunity. It's weird because Mariota, and I've watched, pretty much all or the significant portions of all of his games so far. And one, he's still up and down and pretty reluctant to take chances. And also, he's getting the ball out quick, but once you get people covered and he's going on second and third reads, he's still having problems doing that. I don't think he's ever going to be an elite quarterback. I think that's just something that hasn't developed for him as much. And
is it a little more talented Tyrod, like a good comparison? I've heard that being used, and I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's terrible.
I think he's a better thrower, but it's a pretty similar situation. I still think that you can get after him, and I do think that a main thing for the Bills will be really covering those receivers to the point where we're getting coverage sacks, and I think that's possible. The Titans have an interesting set of receivers that you don't see it all the time, with Corey Davis, a big receiver, hasn't quite produced the level that they wanted to, obviously, as a top 5 pick.
Right.
They have A.J. Brown, who's essentially been what they wanted when they drafted Corey Davis the first time. Also a big receiver, but has a little bit of more playmaking ability, but still only has 10 receptions on the season. So isn't fully integrated. And then another bigger slot receiver in Adam Humphreys. It's one of the bigger, kind of slower receiving cores in the league. And I'm just wondering if they don't get open early, if we can finally see the dam break and maybe we get Oliver Hughes actually sacking the quarterback this game. I think there's a bigger opportunity than certainly, intentional groundings, Brady or Dalton, another guy who will just get rid of the ball. I could see a situation where some of those stats that look positive for Mariota right now don't look so good. Another thing with Mariota this year is that he's been done almost all of his work against the blitz. I believe that he's 6 touchdowns and 0 interceptions against the blitz, and then pretty woeful when people just sit back against him. So it might be interesting to see if we can just put guys in coverage and actually get get rush against them on 4 or 5 guys. And I think that's probably going to be a huge key here.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And to clarify for the third time, Kevin Pamphile is their starting guard, but he's been hurt. So that kind of that's where I mix it up. So he is their guard, but they've been playing Jamil Douglas there. So I guess technically it will be Douglas's 4th game starting. So he's not very good. If I'll use PFF and just because I don't think I have 4 games of Titans film on me right now as a 54.1, pretty low rated guard. But the rest of the line, Milan's not been obviously graded because he hasn't played, is in green territory. So the other 3 linemen are pretty good. So they do have a weakness there at the guard spot. And Milan's got he wasn't allowed to round the team. He's going to come in and be an all-pro, I'm sure, at some point. But besides not being able to play him, I don't mind getting him on his first game back. Or is it one of those things, Jason, where you think, you're going to get the best left tackle in the world coming off suspension? Which way do you go on that opinion?
I mean, you'd rather get him getting back into the form of things.
Then,
I'd rather have him now than 4 games down the road.
Okay.
For sure. So yeah, I mean, I think you're going to get a better player than, Dennis Kelly or David Quessenberry, but I don't know if you're going to get the best of them. It'll be interesting. He doesn't seem like a guy that's got fat over these 4 weeks. He was pretty vigilant and wanting to get back into things and challenge the league on. And,
who the number 1 rated tackle is? David Quessenberry.
Is it? Oh, I don't have the PFF in front of me.
No, I just think it's funny. In limited snaps. Oh, okay. But he's played well.
I'm still gonna take the hot take that Taylor Lewan's better than Quessenberry.
I agree with you. Dennis Kelly's been below average, but okay. Then Kelly's gotten the majority of the snaps. So I don't know why they didn't. If he's been good in his limited snaps, why they didn't just make that? Maybe it was just a half a game anomaly. But yeah, Kelly's played the most parts of that. You're right. You'd rather play Taylor Lewan there by pretty much every ounce of you. You'd rather play one of those other 2 guys. So it's a good line. I don't mean to harp on it too much. Douglas has been bad. Saffold's been good. They've mixed and matched a couple other guys. Nate Davis has been in there for 39 snaps. He's been bad. So they're sticking with Douglas. So there is a hole there, and that's always good. You're only as good as your weakest link, right, Jason? It's not what you say on the offensive line.
Yeah, you'd rather have 5 of the 15th best guys than 4 of the 5th best guys in the 32nd. I mean, that's just
which they have.
I think that's kind of bore out a little bit. I guess if you have 4 guys that are ranked 5th, you're doing. I mean, that's probably what the Cowboys have been doing for years. But yeah, I mean, if you have a weak link and somebody's just getting beat, snap after snap,
they have the 13th ranked Conklin. You're going to consider, Lewan probably top 5 when he's playing good. When he gets back in the Saffold's 11th. And then Ben Jones comes in at 5th. So you are getting about that kind of line. And then you have 60th ranked there at the guard spot. So they do have a hole there. It's not perfect. I do think that there's some winnable matchups, especially with our top 3 defense against their all. I'm not still too worried about it. AJ Brown's been pretty good. Corey Davis has been okay. And at times, Sharp and Humphreys haven't been getting a lot out of. AJ Brown's kind of one of those guys I wanted on the Bills.
Yeah, for sure.
Him and Metcalf were my 2 second-round picks. I ended up going with Ford. It's okay. Obviously, they didn't know what they were going to get out of a Zay Jones year. They thought they had a good Zay Jones year, Jason, and decided they go with the tackle spot. But hindsight's 2020, as I've been told. Ford's still learning, and I think it takes a little while for a guard to get it figured out. So
it does stink that Zay really hasn't come along, because day 2 has really, especially in this year's draft, has really proven to be like a really fertile place for wide receivers with AJ Brown and DK Metcalf and Terry McLaurin, really doing stuff. Even the late first, that whole range, drafting a top 10 receiver was not a very good idea in that draft. And has, unless you have otherworldly talent, I'm not going to tell you to not take Jerry Jeudy, but there's a lot of good receivers that are going on day 2 right now, and it kind of stinks that the one that we got was Zay at this point, who I have not given up on completely.
Yeah, I think you have more hope than I do, or than others do.
I see
You and
flashes.
Aaron Quinn have the most hope for
Well, I can't
Zay.
match Aaron, but
yeah,
no, I don't think that he's doing enough. But there's enough stuff there that I see a good receiver in there. But at this point, I do think that our offense could use a jolt of separation or athleticism or size or some combination of those that's can break a game open. So, and that, I mean, Zay really is, and kind of came out of college as your guy who catches everything, which has been a problem, but then your average speed, average size for the position, a little bit above average as a route runner, and he's turned out to be a step worse at all of those things so far. And the thing is that receivers don't always develop in year 1 or year 2, and usually year 3 in the history of the league has been the year where you finally see a guy take the next step. But we're in year 3 so far, and I'd say he looks closer to year 1 than year 2 at this point. So
right.
I guess as a Zay Jones aside, the Titans are also a team that historically has drafted pretty poorly at wide receiver, but I really do believe that A.J. Brown is going to be the clear-cut number 1 guy at this point, even as a guy who did most of his work in the slot in college. I think that he translates pretty well into play inside or outside, as many of the top receivers in the league do right now. So
yeah, I agree with you.
My Zay aside, but
if you think about the Bills offense, and yeah, obviously we're going to go through the injury report here, as we should. They did release Connor McDermott, by the way. Everyone that probably listens to this podcast should or does know that he was released on a Thursday. My thinking there on that is that they're trying to get him through the practice squad prior to the start of next week, where teams will maybe make a claim or maybe put him on their practice squad. The idea is that right now on Friday, no one's thinking about putting Connor McDermott on any type of roster right now. They're all getting ready for games. So I think the Bills did that rather than release on Saturday, which is then you go through Monday waivers. So I think that's all I can think of why you would do that and still not have someone up. There's nothing else that really makes sense to why not just cut him on Saturday. I think it's because they would go in the early weeks waivers, and the team that lost a tackle this weekend or something can do that. Whereas right now on a Friday, most of that stuff's been already handled for the week. So I think that's kind of thing they can pluck him back on the practice squad. So going through the injury report,
have a weird obsession with him.
I think they do. And
do you think that next show will be the first that we do? The next Kevin and Jason show will be the first show that we do that we don't talk about cutting Connor McDermott? Or
I hope so. I really hope that he doesn't deserve to be on the roster. They're hoarding him for some reason. Clearly they think he has value, or he would be on a practice squad. They clearly think that.
Not enough value to put him in the active roster ever.
No.
I really think if it came down to it and all the other guys got hurt, they would still sign a guy and start him over McDermott.
I think so too. I think they think that he has value in the fact of maybe they've gotten calls, offered 6th round, 7th round picks or something. I don't know. I don't know what the idea is there to hoarding him so long. And they haven't made they still haven't made any roster moves except the Kyle Peckham call up. And that's with a lot of banged up players. No one's seriously hurt. And the Bills are fairly, I guess, long-term healthy. They're not short-term super duper healthy.
Nothing devastating yet.
Really, you've only lost Harrison Phillips, who was starting to play well in his second year. But here, we'll go through it now, Jason. You have the outs as just Tyler Kroft and Corey Thompson, who's also getting hoarded. A guy they, I guess, want to keep on the not only here, but on the active roster. So they think you can come back and then help. That to me normally is an IR spot. You IR him, you get him back next year. Or you cut him and you sign him when he's healthy again, or some variation of that. But they think that they need to use an active roster spot on Corey Thompson. So more power to him. So he's out with that ankle. So another 2 or 3 weeks there. Tyler Kroft is out. So who knows when he's back, if back. I'd assume with him after the bye might look a little bit better.
I'm not guessing with him. But he is I don't always believe that hey, you should sit this guy so he gets the extra week with the bye. But at this point, why not? And you have probably 2 tight ends,
and he's not even straight up practicing, so
might be as good as him anyways. I don't know.
So then there you have a couple of things. You have questionables. You have 7 guys. You have Pat DeMarco, Ty Nsekhe, Josh Allen, Taron Johnson, Dean Marlowe, Devin Singletary, and Robert Foster. So what I look for is what do they do this week? So Robert full limited. Interesting to go down to limited. Questionable tag. I don't think he's going to play, Jason. I don't know how you go from full to limited and what they're, if you want to call it depth at receiver. I could lead to another inactive. So I don't know what happened to him, but he'll get the extra week. Devin Singletary limited for, pretty much since he's been back for the last 6 practices. Why he's not getting in a full, I don't think that bodes well, Jason. I think that he will be inactive, getting that extra week. And he might be the only player that I could listen to getting that extra bye because hamstrings are brutal. Other than that, I don't generally love the extra week argument. I in fact don't like it at all. Dean Marlowe actually full participant, as well as Josh and as well as Pat DeMarco off concussions. That generally means stage 5 of the protocol, full activity to be full participation. That to me means all 3 of those players are trending in the right way. Yeah, they could come in tomorrow and any of them could report symptoms and they'll give them that time, the neurologist. But if cleared by the independent neurologist, they're okay. That means that playing on Sunday wouldn't incur any additional risks playing this Sunday than in 2 Sundays because they're cleared by an independent neurologist that doesn't care if the Bills win or not. Right. So if they're cleared by a guy that cares about, is supposed to, the only job is to care about his safety. And once he's in the problem with the protocol is not putting somebody in the protocol. It's not that the protocol sucks. It's that they've missed a few times when a guy should go into this protocol. So once they're in the protocol, they've already been caught and they know what to do in the right steps. I don't think they're going to get, think of Josh Allen as just like the Bills do trying to win a football game. They're going to consider his health. So if he's cleared, he plays. I don't think the extra week hurt. If he gets hit, I think it's totally independent of anything that had to go into last week. Most people probably don't believe that, but cleared by team doctors and then cleared by the independent neurologist. So for all 3 of those guys. So I think there's a potential you see all those without Singletary. You need to play Pat DeMarco. Or maybe that's where the extra spot goes in. You have to call up the running back Marshall on the practice squad. Maybe that's why they haven't called up the receiver yet. Maybe that's why they're not calling up Duke Williams, because they might need it on running back. I guess would be my only thing to why they've been waiting on that, or maybe Davis Webb. But you think you can get a pretty good indication based on who they call up, which guys are going to be inactive. Tyne Secchi didn't practice all week. I doubt he plays with that questionable tag, though. He's a vet just like Cam Wake is. Maybe he can at least do his platoon role. He doesn't play a whole game anyway. So maybe he can at least do that or be depth on game day. So that's possible. Maybe that's why he's not fully ruled out, because, if you need him in a pinch, he might be able to play. So Taron Johnson's just been limited since we've had him since the end of last year. So that's the injury report. Which ones are you concerned about? What do you think about that?
See, things seem to be trending the right way for Josh Allen for the limited information that we have so far. Obviously, our starting quarterback's the most important one right there. We're clearly going to know, Saturday by 4, probably almost entirely who's going to be able to go in terms of Josh Allen or the running backs. I think if everybody seems fairly healthy, we are probably going to see Duke Williams take that spot. I think Joe B reported on Thursday that he was running special team stuff for the first time this year, which is an interesting time to do that when it's most likely that he was going to come up. But, they'll leave him down for another week if we need to bring up Davis Webb or Byron Marshall. Is that the right one? Yeah, Byron Marshall.
That is right.
I guess those would be really the guys. So those are interesting. I would love to see Singletary play, but at the same time, you're right about hamstring injuries where they just can linger, and another 2 weeks might be pretty valuable to them. And I think they saw their team, and they know Frank Gore's not going to do what he did last week every week. And I think there's probably a little bit of a lack of dynamicism in that backfield right now with the Gore, Yeldon, and DeMarco. And I think they see the end of the year schedule and they say, we need this guy to be healthy for those games because we're going to need one to win 1 or 2 of those between Cleveland and Baltimore and Dallas and et cetera. So I think that's really important to them. I don't always believe in it, but at this point, I think for a guy that was only getting a few touches a game anyways, they might just decide to sit him and let him go. I don't see Taron Johnson coming back yet. I think that's pretty unlikely at this point. I think we would have better signs in terms of what his health is at this point. And then there's Foster and Marlowe, who I think were both fringe guys to make the active anyways at this point. I think Foster's, I highly doubt that he gets on the active roster. And then in, groin injury, I don't know what the severity of it is, but another 2 weeks would do a good job there. And Marlowe, even if he gets fully cleared, it could go either way as far as him being active. I guess the inactives might be a little busy with, probably 3 or 4 guys guaranteed there anyways. So, it's going to be interesting. And I think DeMarco's a full go. I think we would hear more about running back at this point because they do consider him the third running back. So I think they're assuming that one of DeMarco or Singletary is going to be playing in this game. And I would say DeMarco's definitely the most likely at this point. But
yeah, I think that's probably true. And if they can't go, that's where they'll call up Marshall. And if he's okay and Josh Allen's okay, I think you wouldn't call it Marshall, obviously, or Davis Webb. That's Duke Williams would get the call. I guess that's probably how it's going to go, right?
I think Duke gets it if it's nobody else.
Yeah, Duke's going to get the call, but they're weighing, and maybe that offensive line. If Nsekhe can't go, I don't know why they would have cut McDermott if they liked Eric Magnuson better. He's an interior guy, so can't be there. I guess it could be Nate Hall, a guy that they maybe wanted to give an extra week to. They just re-back signed him again last week, so maybe he needed another week to get up to replace Corey Thompson. That's another one, right? I mean, I guess if Nate Hall can help on special teams more, he'd get the call up over.
It would be Nate Hall, where we just talk about everybody else, and then just ends up being Nate Hall.
Yeah. Or even more, I think Twitter would go on fire if it was like Nick Easley. Like if they wanted a backup slot receiver.
It would be hilarious. Well, I mean, I'd be mad too, so I guess it wouldn't be hilarious, but it would be hilarious if they brought up another receiver before.
How much of a troll move
squad over Duke Williams
would it be to call up Nick Easley or Davis Webb? And then like the whole time you're like, all right, Josh isn't playing, and Josh plays and just inactivate Davis Webb or something. I don't know. I think that'd be kind of funny. Like it'd almost be like
stuff before that doesn't make any sense. As good as
it'd be a game plan thing.
Staff is.
If you call up Davis Webb, even they think that you're starting Barkley.
That's not a bad point.
If you call up Davis Webb tomorrow, they're like, all right, Josh Allen's not playing, and then next thing you know, Josh Allen's playing. Then you inactivate at 12 o'clock. You inactivate or keep him active so they don't have any idea. You keep Davis Webb as third quarterback active, right? I mean, that's sneaky, but
I would say that that's dumb in most situations, but the game plan for Josh Allen and the game plan for Matt Barkley are completely different as defense. And I'm sure they would really like to know who they're playing, on Sunday. But
even an hour gets them like time to implement something. But like if you have Davis Webb active on game day, I don't know.
I'm almost rooting for this move.
Yeah, I don't know. If Davis Webb's active, you don't know who's going to play until the Bills receive the ball on a punt or a kickoff. So
I'm not sure that Duke Williams, I'm not sure this week pulling him up matters if he's not going to be active and starting and contributing. I'm not sure pulling him up matters if he's not taking Zay Jones's snaps this week.
I know, but who would confuse him? Davis Webb.
Davis Webb would be a confusing one. I kind of like that move. I haven't seen that anywhere, but we might have to.
I don't think it automatically means Josh isn't playing. It just means that if something happens on game day or Sunday inactives come out and he's not feeling good, I don't know. It may then you inactivate. It's also a safety net.
Kick the can down the road, or if something reoccurs, I guess. I mean, the thing is though, getting Josh Allen cleared means that he's full go, all systems ahead. It's not he's been taking up one snaps too with individuals and doing. It's not like a shoulder injury where it's we're going to see how Josh feels. He's got to get cleared and fully cleared and not 90% brain.
Right.
It's not 90% shoulder. It's you need to be 105% brain. So, it is an interesting thing.
It's an interesting point that I'm not 100% unless there's news that he didn't clear the concussion protocol. I'm not 100% just by that is a sneaky move that they're the Bills are going to actually do this to us. Or I don't know. Sometimes I like going the other way and just be coming out tomorrow. He's cleared. He's going to play. Sometimes I like that too. I don't know.
As much as it's a 50-50 or a 70-30 or whatever the percentages that it realistically is for Josh Allen to play, in my head, I'm fully expecting him to play, and I'm going to be pretty disappointed and worried if he does not.
I don't think it still clicked to me that if it is 50-50, he still might not play, and that Davis Webb is one snap away from getting in an NFL game for the Bills and ruining a game. because he's not good.
The Giants thought that Alex Tanney was better than him.
He's not good. He's not a good football player. Could he have developed in the 4 weeks in Buffalo
Probably not.
or this preseason? I mean, no, but anything's possible. But he went to the Giants to the Jets, and he couldn't. He didn't beat out Luke Falk. I don't know. Not a good football player. So that'd be disappointing to have to see if he plays. There's been weirder things happen where someone can come in and win like that, but luckily we're not only Josh Allen inactive away, we're hit on Barkley away from that. But let's not think like that, Jason. Let's think that he'd be a ploy if called up, unless other news comes out from reporters, which the Bills would hold tight to their vest. I mean, they're not going to go and tell Joe B that Josh isn't going to play. They might say he's playing. I doubt they would say Josh isn't going to play to anybody until 11 o'clock on Sunday when the inactives come out. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I kind of think that they won't do anything either way. They're really not forced to do that. I mean, I don't know. The fact is that if information gets out that he got cleared, then I don't know. Does that come out separately from the team at all, or does that have to go through channels of the team?
I think that's all that happened is he gets cleared and it gets told to the team. I don't think they have to release that information.
Okay.
As long as he's on the injury report, which he obviously is.
If there was a way for that to go around the team, because if that comes out, that they have to play him if he gets cleared.
I don't think so. It's a medical thing. I don't think you can go in and release medical.
Adam Schefter says otherwise. So
yeah,
it's
he's getting that. Adam Schefter is getting information like that from the agents.
Yeah.
That's who Adam knows. So. The agents, I guess Josh's agent could say something like he's not going to clear the protocol. And then midnight on Saturday, Adam Schefter could say, Josh Allen not expected to play. That's how he gets that stuff. It's certainly not the team giving out their injury reports.
Well, he got the JPP stuff from the hospital. That was when he blew his hand off.
Yeah, that's sneaky. A public police report, maybe, because that's public.
Yeah, well, I think Josh Allen is being handled in a civil medical manner. So, I don't know if we're really going to know anything.
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's a chance that you get that Schefter tweet Saturday night where it's like Josh Allen's expected to play.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they could get an indication if anybody's in on practice.
They seem to know at night, early morning, how they find out. I don't know. I don't know where Schefter gets that information from, but that's usually what happens. But all right, enough about the injury report.
Also, one last thing, like they did, I think if they were more on the side of him not playing, I think they would have given him an LP instead of an FP on this report.
I think the FP on Friday is a huge deal. I don't know. Maybe
I think they understand of, tempering the expectations of the fans. And I'm not sure that he's getting an FP if they think that he's pretty likely going to sit out. So
yeah, I think the FP is a pretty big deal. Like I said, the 3, that to me means that those guys are in stage 5 of the protocol, which means that they should be cleared. And they generally clear players later in the week anyways. Like, I don't know if there's exceptions to that. I guess it could be on one-off basis, but I feel like they get cleared on Saturday based on how they practice. And as long as they were in stage 5, they can play. So to me, they get one final check tomorrow, maybe after flying. I don't know what the indicators are of a concussion, and then they do some final tests and they're like, all right, you're cleared. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But I think it's likely that all 3 of those, I think even Marlowe might suit up. If Dean Marlowe doesn't suit up, I think it's more of a difference of player, but they like Marlowe at this point. So until Taron Johnson plays, I think you'll see Marlowe on the active roster as long as possible. So, turning the ball to their defense real quick. We haven't really talked about that at all. They come in with a pretty solid secondary. I mean, there's really not a lot of holes there. When healthy, obviously when Wake's in the lineups, got a little bit more pass rushing there, but it really is a good assembled defense. I mean, what is your opinion on it?
Yeah, it's a good defense. I think the front 7 is it's not perfect, but they manufacture pressure in a pretty good way. And obviously that's something that you sometimes have to worry about against Josh Allen. And then I think the secondary is really good. Obviously, Logan Ryan, Malcolm Butler, and Adoree Jackson are all good and have been at points like great cornerbacks. Kevin Byard's one of the best free safeties in the league, just as far as hawking balls down. Kenny Vaccaro's been up and down in his career, but I think he's been reasonably up lately. And, so far in the season, they're getting an interception a game. Ryan has 2, Butler has 1, Byard has 1. So, yeah, you're never going to say that Josh Allen or Matt Barkley aren't going to force a throw or two. So I honestly probably expect an interception or 2, and honestly probably hopefully just an interception or 2 in this game. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be partially dependent on how much pressure they get on them.
Where's their weakness, in your opinion, Tennessee's defense?
Oh, I still think I'm not in love with Rashaan Evans. I still think that they might be able to run the ball in a way like they did last week. I think that's.
Do you like Harold Landry or Jayon Brown at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think Landry's still coming along. People see that he's got the potential as far as his pass rushing goes. He's got 3 sacks so far this year. Their defensive line has a few too. Even Sheriff Finch has 1. So it'll be interesting to see if they can manufacture that. And the Bills' offensive line hasn't been gangbusters this year. They've been better than last year, but that's not a hard hurdle to clear at this point. So, I think that we'll be able to run the ball probably. Wasn't it San Francisco that just decimated them?
Mm-hmm.
Was that the San Francisco game where they had the 3, their 3rd through 5th running back completely run all over
up
them.
the middle? Casey and Wake have been good, but then, you have Vaccaro and Evans who haven't been very good this year. Landry he's been okay in pass rush, but hasn't been great. Logan Ryan hasn't been his usual self, but Butler's always been up and down, even in New England. Jackson's been good, so Hooker's been good. Who they play a lot of, by the way, they play a lot of Amani Hooker, just so you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they play a lot of guys in the secondary, and I think they
drop Vaccaro into a linebacker role in a lot of their
I was going to say, because I'm pretty sure they're taking linebackers off the field, including Wake, and they do some interesting stuff as far as that goes. I don't have play counts in front of me, but Hooker gets on the field. They have the 3 cornerbacks that they have on the field pretty regularly. So
Reggie Gilbert gets on the field too. Outside linebacker, so depending on the formations. So it's an interesting defense. It's decent and to good on paper.
I think it's a good defense on paper. The problem is that their offense and their defense have both picked weeks where they both stink every other week, and they both play pretty well the other weeks. And unfortunately, I think we're coming onto oh no, they were good last week, so maybe we get a bad one this week. They're really one of those coin flip teams, and it seems like the AFC South seems to breed teams like this because the Texans seem to be the same way. You just don't really know which team you're going to get, and you assume that you're going to get the good one at home, but you never know. And I think that really the biggest thing for the Bills is just stay in the game. Don't figure out a way to lose it. I think it's going to be low scoring, but we're, giving away points on turnovers and penalties. We move the ball pretty well for as much as people knock what Josh Allen does or, how many hundreds of years old that Frank Gore is. The team's moving the ball and creating drives and way, way less third
exactly.
3 outs than last year. But
and their front 7 isn't as good as it should be. Wake's been good, and obviously they have, my guy Casey in the middle there. But other than that, Daquan Jones has actually been pretty good too. He's been getting a lot of snaps. Him and Casey play a lot. Isaiah Mack, college free agent, has been terrible in his 83 snaps. He's a really bad run defender, one of the worst in the league.
He's there for passing downs. I think he has a couple of sacks, but has been a complete liability otherwise.
Yeah. So there's definitely that problem there. And then just from the edge, obviously we've talked about Cameron Wake. He's played 74 pass snaps out of 79 and 5 run D snaps. So he does not, if he's playing pass snaps all the time.
You can probably tell what the Bills are going to do based on whether Wake is on the field or not. That's how indicative it's been this year.
And they're getting a lot of snaps here from Sharif Finch, who hasn't been very good. Been playing a lot of coverage snaps in there. Cameron Wake, obviously just a pass rusher, and then Harold Landry's been, obviously plays most snaps. Hasn't had a great season in a lot of facets of the game. Correa has been okay. He's been good in run defense, but has been terrible in pass. Reggie Gilbert gets some snaps, and Brett Urban. Not all. They have some players there, some good depth, but not all of them have been playing really well there in Tennessee. So there are some challenges, and Rashaan Evans hasn't been good either. He's been a pretty poor rated linebacker in the film I watched on him because I was interested in him. He just doesn't do anything with the pass rush. His coverage is below average. He's okay run defender. That's really what he brings. He'll make a run stop. I guarantee it, Jason. We're like,
Sure.
oh, Rashaan Evans is good, but he's not.
I studied those linebackers pretty hard last year because I thought we were going to draft one of them, and of course we did. And of the 4 guys that were going to go in the first round, he was my least favorite by a pretty wide margin. And he's pretty much shown that so far. And Landry was a guy that I thought could have gone in the first round, maybe even picked in the spot that Evans was in. But honestly, I think he's a pretty straight.
And they still play Wesley Woodyard too, by the way. They still play Wesley Woodyard.
Yeah. Well, because Evans isn't playing well. It's
interesting.
But I think Landry's a little out of position there and is pretty much only effective at getting around the tackles. He's got good bend. He's got good athleticism, but he's not going to be relied on in the run game very well, or you're going to get hurt. So, again, I think this comes back. Right now they have at least 3 linebackers that play significant moments that don't stop the run very well. And, you got a running back coming off of a good week last week.
And their DBs have played average at best and average at best in run. Like Logan Ryan's a terrible run defender. He's been awful this year. He's one of the last ranked corners. Him and Malcolm Butler haven't been very good. Malcolm Butler's actually been good in run defense, but not in coverage. And Dory Jackson's been pretty good for them. So they've had a pretty lackluster year for as good as I think that their team looks on paper. And Hooker plays a lot. He's played 95 snaps, and that's a lot from your third safety. So I think it's a winnable matchup, Jason. What is your final takeaway from the Titans matchup, or any final nuggets you have?
Yeah, so I think that as much, I don't think that our passing game is going to be where we fully thrive in this game. I'm not sure that we're going to suddenly break out at this point, especially with Elam with limited reps this week. And I'm still assuming that he's going to play, and a secondary that's pretty good as far as they go. I think that, our big advantage is going to be running the ball and possibly Elam getting those big plays through the run, which he hasn't totally had so far this year. So I think those are big things. I don't think we're going to suddenly see a 300-yard passing game out of a Bills quarterback. I think we're going to have to wait another couple of weeks. We get Miami and Washington soon, so I think that's where we're going to see that. And on the other side of the ball, I'm just not thoroughly scared by anything that their offense has. Derrick Henry's pretty much a sub 4 yards a carry runner with a couple of huge plays, and we have to avoid that. We have a linebacker that's actually as big as Derrick Henry, which could help. But yeah, the wide receivers, I just don't think they have the separation skills at this point to challenge the Bills defense any more than anybody else has right now. So, I think both teams are going to struggle to pass the ball. And if you're really just looking at what's the best unit in this game, it's our defense. So, I think things could go well in a low scoring game. They're just not going to score 30 on us. And if we hold a team sub 20, I think that we can get it done. And I think that they can preach not to have those game-killing plays with turnovers and penalties. And I think if they just clean up a little, and also this isn't like an extreme road game because there are going to be Bills fans there. And we talked about it last show. It's going to sound like those Jets and Giants games where we're going to have a very, there's going to be crowd
Dolphins
shout
games,
songs. Yeah, there's going to be crowd shout songs when we score. Don't think that there's not going to be. Nashville is a college football town, and Bills fans are crazy people. And
their fans suck. I don't care. I hate them. They're like one of my least favorite teams in the league.
Yeah, it's weird. It is the place that in Nashville I don't want to say too bad about because it's probably my favorite city in the South. But when you see it with their fans and Jacksonville fans, it really is like these very underrepresented places that I don't know if they have an edge or something, or just something about them that they go a little overboard on the Twitter. So I don't know. I've seen the interactions before, and they're they can be jerks. And I hope that Bills fans, the people from Buffalo and the people who live in the Mid-Atlantic and in that area really represented the game. And it certainly looks like, there's a lot of people going to Nashville for the weekend.
Right. And one final note, we didn't talk about special teams. They have the best punter in the league. And so that's a thing. And we have the worst, in my opinion, or one of the worst.
He's still on the team.
But, Brett Kern's really good. He's top 3, top 1 or 2, depending on where you want to go and what metric you use. So there's that. They did lose their kicker for the year, and Ryan Suckup, who's pretty good at times. So they're going with Kaiir Santos, who actually doesn't miss extra points, hasn't missed one in years. So I guess they like that consistency, but he's like a 75 to 80% kicker. So he's been okay this year. Only missed one kick this year. So I think in the Indy game, he missed a kick. So other than that, he was pretty decent all around. I mean, for a replacement level kicker, they got lucky just because of his consistency with extra points, but I don't think he's a world beater. He's not going to go out and be the reason they win. So we'll see if that plays a role in this. And I think he's been generally a pretty good kickoff guy too. Has a pretty low average starting field position. So not the worst. So they have some pretty decent specialists. So we'll see if Kaiir Santos plays a role. I mean, he's played on multiple teams after his little run in Kansas City. He's been cut 3 times since that. So twice last year. We'll see if Kaiir Santos shows up in a positive or negative way, but I think the edge goes to Hauschka there, and obviously the edge goes to Kern on the other side. So let's go into score predictions now, Jason. I think that the home game, with the Bills in a really big game with a lot of fans down there, and really one of the furthest they'll go this year beside Dallas. I got the Bills in this one, and I have it jotted down here as 24-14. Where do you stand on this game and why?
So I'm a little worried about it, but, I think this is the second best team we've played this year, and we're doing it on the road. But I think we have the best unit of all of them. I don't see them scoring a lot of points on us, and they're going to have to do it on huge plays, and they've made a couple this year with A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry.
Yep.
But we really haven't allowed those, and we keep players in front of us, and I think we're going to be a more frustrating force for Mariota than he's seen just about this year. And I think we're flipping the script. And 16-10 Bills. We're going to avenge last week. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. And I think the only way that we would blow them out or really extend to a 2 or 3 touchdown game is if we get a pick 6 or a punt return or whatever. Andre Roberts did look good last week, so that was an encouraging thing. But I think we're going to need a big special team or defense play to really extend the game. If not, I'm seeing field goals and maybe a score or 2. But I think it's going to be close, and I think it's not going to be an easy game to watch. So, hopefully we go into the bye with some enthusiasm, and then come out against a bunch of not very good teams. So I'd be very excited to pick this up here and move on to a even more successful October and November. Yeah,
going into a bye, into a bad Miami game, 4-1 with tiebreakers over, I guess, if you want to call it, but you're going to have it over the Jets. You're going to have it over, since he's gone now, but having it over Tennessee is a huge deal. So that tiebreaker would be a huge. We were both the wild card teams 2 years ago, so that having that could be a huge difference for half of a game down toward the end. Plus, it's an AFC win, if nothing else. So it's a big game. I think it's a top, beside the Patriots game, we play twice. I think it's a top 4 team they play this year, really. I like Dallas. I guess Philly's Philly.
In terms of how good they are?
Yeah.
I think they're a little further down than that. But, yeah, I think that this is among the most important games we're going to play this year, because I think we're going to be in a similar place as them. And really, similar-ish talent level. Maybe a little behind us, but we're doing that on the road. I think this is a really, really important game. I think this is a more important game than last week. More important than the Jets or Cincinnati. I think this is the biggest game that we have this year, as much as it doesn't feel like it was during the home opener in New England. Like, I think this is a game that might be one of the most meaningful we could do this year.
I have New England better than them, Philly and Dallas better than them. Who would be better than them on the Bills schedule? Do you have someone?
I think Cleveland is.
Okay. Yeah, they're the only one close. And Philly's close too.
Baltimore.
Yeah,
has a chance. I still don't know, because Baltimore is one of those teams like Dallas and Green Bay where they've
Tennessee crushed Cleveland.
Only been successful against bad teams.
They beat 40-10 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything out of a week one game with the Tennessee Titans because they looked immediately.
I know. I'm not either, but it is.
I think they're like the sixth best team.
So you do have Cleveland and Baltimore better. I mean, that's
Probably
fair. It's toss-ups.
I think there's 3 or 4 teams that are pretty close to each other.
With Philly too. Yeah. No, I agree. I don't think Philly's world beaters this year either. I think Dallas and New England are by far your 2 toughest, and then there's tier 2. So this is a tier 2 game, whether it's the top of your tier 2 or bottom, I guess would be the point. I think this is a tier 2 game and a really important one because a lot of those teams, Philly and Dallas are NFC teams. So,
and we're fortunate that, we have some flat out tankers on our schedule, which I end
2
up
Miamis,
but 2 Miamis, Washington, and I think Denver at this point is pretty close.
Especially late in the year, Denver. I thank God you didn't have to play them, although they've lost 4 games. I think you're going to get better Denver in September than November.
Yeah, I think that's what week is that? It's
late November. It's like the Thanksgiving.
So, we could be looking at
it's before or after Dallas
or something.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be there's a lot of tankers and the Jets aren't very good. I think
Jets are going to go 4 this week. So, no Sam Darnold. So
it's a winnable schedule, Jason. We're going to get into it bye week edition next week, by the way. So that's actually a perfect time to go into the schedule, as we'll do that. Probably only a maybe 1 episode show with reviewing the game, and maybe make a little longer, talk about the schedule and stuff to do a 1 because of the bye. We'll do a 1 episode week next week. But there's a lot of great stuff. It's a big game for the Bills. We can't stress it. We hope you get to this pregame. We hope you have time to listen to this weekend. Anyone traveling to Nashville, enjoy, listen to it. And hearing from Trainwreck guys that it's crazy. Shout songs at gates, shout songs everywhere there. It's going to be a lot like that Jacksonville game. I wouldn't be shocked 70-30 Tennessee to Bills fans, something like that. Do you think that's high?
It'll feel like 70-30, but it would probably only be like 10, 15, 20%. But
20 at most. Okay.
Bills fans tend to make it seem like there's more of them no matter where they go. As exhibited by Jacksonville in the playoffs.
Yeah, I've heard anything from Jacksonville fans saying 1% to Bills fans saying 40%. So
I think I knew enough people going to the game to be more than 1%. So
minimum 15 to that. Yeah. Was it 40? No, but it was probably 20. Something like that. Yeah. So lots to look forward to. Good game. Everyone have fun down there. We're really looking forward to it, analyzing and hoping the Bills can go 4-1 into the break, into a bye, and Miami. So from the Kevin and Jason show, I'm Kevin. That's Jason.
Thanks, guys.